thanks for joining me today to help
Thank you.
document some of your harvest history or your career. So to start off with, I'll have you introduce yourself and tell us where
Shorty
you're from.
Kulhanek from Colby, Kansas. I grew up in McGargle, Texas. Married my wife Donna and moved to Colby.
Okay. How'd you get started in the harvesting business?
I grew up in it. My dad started in 1956 with 2 Massey combines. Run them 1 year and he decided to buy a Gleaner. Bought him a Gleaner A to go with it. And he liked the Gleaners and went to Gleaners after that and been with them ever since.
How early did you start running a combine?
When I was 11 years old in 1967, I started running a 66 C2 Gleaner. And I've run a combine every year since then.
Okay. Why did you want to, continue? Is it just...
I enjoyed it. It was just something they say it gets in your blood.
Yeah.
And it did get in my blood. And like I said, I've done it all my life. 1980, my dad was going to quit. And he knew I wanted to do it. And he said, if you want to continue to do it, you're going to have to run it. And you'll get a working ownership out of it. And I run them from 1980 to 1990 for him. And then I went out on my own. We split the equipment up. And I've been on my own since 1990.
Okay. Kind of describe where your harvest season starts normally, and then the path you follow.
We start in Texas, where I was raised, in McGargle.
Okay.
And Mother Nature controls the start. We started as early as the 10th of May to the 1st of June. In given years, we might go to Oklahoma. But normally, we hit Kansas, usually Ashland, Kansas, and up to Sublette some years, and up to Colby. And then up through Nebraska, western Nebraska.
Uh-huh.
And we have worked in Lemon, South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
But with the crops today, we don't work there that much anymore. We go to North Dakota.
Okay.
And back to South Dakota to do fall work around Hovind and Gettysburg, and then back to Colby to finish the fall harvest.
Okay. Okay. So wheat mainly through the summer, and then your fall looks like, what do you guys use?
Soybeans, corn, sunflowers, milo.
Okay. How many machines do you run now? And
I started off with 2 in 1990 on my own, then I went to 3 a few years after that, and I've continued to run 3.
3 Gleaners?
Okay.
What, like, the difference in machinery have you seen, maybe even when you were growing up to now? What has been the change?
Oh, the first ones we ran were, didn't even have cabs and didn't even have umbrellas.
Uh-huh.
1969 was the first year my dad bought an umbrella, and it was great. You know, got out of the shade and helped some of the dust from getting on you. And then 1972, he bought his first combine with a cab on it. No air conditioner, just a fan in it. Well, I thought I died and went to heaven. There wasn't no air conditioner,
yeah.
But it was great. And then in 73, bought the first combines with air conditioners, and I got pretty sick that summer in Texas. I wasn't used to the air conditioner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, they just continued to improve since then with the comfort of the cab, the quietness of the cab, and the air conditioners have gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the air conditioner goes out today, a hired hand's not going to drive it. No. I will, because I've got to make the living.
Yeah. What size of head did you run when you were growing up?
We had 18s years ago.
Okay.
And then gradually went to 24s, 27 to 30s, and we run 35-foot MacDons today.
I'm sure there's been a change in the cost of the machinery. How's that looked over your career?
Oh, I can remember when my dad ran the combines, they were $20-something thousand, and the first rotors he bought in 1980 were around $60,000.
Uh-huh.
And I can't remember what the cost was of the first ones I bought, but they're up over $300,000 now. But
yeah.
when we went to MacDon headers, I remember the first ones I bought then were $29,000, and
wow.
They're over over $80,000 today.
Wow.
So quite an increase.
Uh-huh. What about like the cost of work? How's that changed? Or like what was it in the beginning? And
you mean our
like
cost or income?
What you charge?
Well, I can't remember when I went in what it first charged me years ago. I remember when you got 311s, and today we're up to 325s. But it's not enough for the increase of the cost of the equipment and your expenses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the downfall of it.
Yeah. Let's see. What about like how you move your equipment down the road? I know you're kind of showing pictures earlier of driving the combines with the headers on, changing.
Years ago, when I was a kid, Dad had the 8 combines. Used to load them up on back of the trucks with the headers on.
Front ways, like hanging over the cab.
Yeah, the headers hung over the cab, and then as they got bigger, had to take them off and put them on trailers and pull them behind there. But you still drove the combines up on the trucks.
Okay.
And then in '72, I remember, I believe it was '72 or '74, bought his first combine trailers. I thought that was pretty neat, you know, put the headers in back of the trucks and load the combines up. And of course, today it's a lot different. They're bigger, heavier trailers, and where we put their headers on trailers and pull them behind the combine trailers.
It's changed in how you load things.
Right.
Yeah. Did your dad ever let you load the combine?
Oh yeah, he is. That's why I grew up doing it. He gave me a lot of responsibility, and when I was in 8th grade, didn't have a driver's license. I was driving a truck hauling a combine
Were you really?
From Texas, Nebraska, and back home. My mom didn't like it, but my dad let me do it.
Have there been stops that you go to now that you've been going to for years, or how long has been
Potter, Nebraska. Potter, Nebraska is one of our favorites. I grew up there as a kid, harvesting there, and everybody in town's like going back home.
Yeah.
And everybody knows you. They enjoy seeing you come to town, and it's an enjoyable feeling.
Like you're going back home.
Right.
Do you have any like fond memories of going to some of those places, or anything in general?
Oh, when I was a kid, I can remember that was where I had to run a combine all the time. I say when I was a kid, I can remember around Imperial, Nebraska, when it'd be so hot, and that's when they had the irrigation ditches, and they piped the water into the furrows. And brother and I jump in those ditches during the day and cool off. And the farmer had a stock tank there at his shop, and we'd jump in there and just cool off, you know, just take our shirt and pants off and jump in.
And then ready to go again, huh? Let's see. Do you hire employees, or how many do you usually hire?
Usually 5 is the most we hire.
Okay.
Because my wife and I both do something, and we just try to keep our expenses down.
Yeah. So do you hire those from the U.S. or like H-2A?
Now we do. There was a number of years in the 90s that we hired Australians. And they were eager to come over here because the difference in the dollar was 60 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Now that our dollar's changed, the value is too much the same, and it's not an incentive for them to come over here. And I never did hire anybody except Australians and New Zealanders.
Okay.
And so we had to go back to hiring Americans.
Where do you kind of draw your, like which states?
We don't. We just advertise in a lot of the eastern states.
Okay.
And we do get some out of Wisconsin. Used to get a lot from Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia. And we've had a few from the Carolinas, some from Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah, people who kind of want to, some of them at least want to come see the Midwest.
We worked a lot of Amish boys and Mennonite boys, and they're more considerate about, they were raised to appreciate things and take care of things, and that means a lot.
Yeah, taking care of your equipment.
Right.
Have you noticed like a change in the employment over the years, just difference in the guys that come out?
Oh yeah, a lot of them don't have the work ethics. They just don't care. And that's like I said, we had 2 Mennonite boys last year, and they were raised to take care and do the job and be truthful. And that's a lot of these American boys, you know, they'll just tell you what you want to hear. It's a shame you don't know when to believe them. And that's what I've tried to preach to them about being a man of your word. That means a lot, and it's very few and far between anymore.
Not as common.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely probably take in, you don't know what you're going to get when you hire someone.
I just do mostly phone interviews because they're so far away, and they tell you what you want to hear. A lot of them do.
Yeah. So what are your living arrangements on the road? Do you guys stay in trailers or?
We have travel trailers. We have what we call a bunkhouse for the boys. And then my wife and I have a fifth wheel trailer where she cooks. And
Okay.
we require the boys to keep their trailer picked up. They gotta clean up because I'm not gonna clean up behind them.
Uh-huh.
I don't expect my wife to.
Yeah.
You know, rainy days, that's their first project is get the trailer clean. And they got a washer and dryer in there. They're required to wear clean clothes every day. And they represent us. We require them to be neat and clean. And
How was that for like your growing up or like your dad? Did they always take trailers?
no, we lived in motels and I got tired of that. Packing my clothes all the time.
Yeah, and moving up and down the road. Other than your wife, do you have any family that travels with you?
Not anymore. They're all grown up, married, and have kids. When growing up, my wife and I were both previously married, and my two boys went for a number of years.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, I miss them
Uh-huh.
because they took care of things. And
Yeah.
my oldest stepson was the same way. He took care of everything.
What did you value about having them with you besides, I mean, you kind of touched on, they took care of
Their
things,
work
but-
ethics, they grew up with good work ethics, and they took care of the equipment.
Yeah, they knew what to expect and.
Right.
Yeah. Have there been changes in the weather like that affects how you get from stop to stop or like your harvest path along the way? Are you able to make every stop like you used to, or has that changed?
We continue to make every stop, but the weather pattern has changed, and the rainy seasons have changed. It's caused us a lot of grief, and we can't control Mother Nature. And
Yeah.
and that's strange. You can work. One particular farmer we worked for years, we had to pull out one year because it was just so wet, and we had to go. And he said he understood, but I never kept for him again. He held it against me, and I can't control Mother Nature.
Yeah, you kind of are, under the mercy of whether it rains or not.
And then people that have gone to alternative crops, there's less wheat out there, more milo, more corn, more soybeans, and the fall of the year can be bad. A lot of times it turns off cool and the crops don't ripen, and it's a lengthier fall season. A lot of times you don't get through it until in December.
Yeah, by the time you're done. Let's see, I think we've kind of. What would you say is like a big pressure that you might face during a harvest season or throughout your harvest career?
A big pressure.
Yeah.
Hired help.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wake up tomorrow and they're all going to be there. And when they're not, when you lose one or if you lose two, it really you can kind of work things out. If you lose one person, if you lose two, then you got to regroup, and everybody's got to, maybe a truck driver's got to get in the combine, and you just make the best of it. You don't, and you hope that somebody else comes along and you find somebody to replace them. But the hired help is the most stressful. It's very upsetting. My wife, she can't hardly deal with it anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful to try to find people to help do your business.
Right.
What is there something that like has surprised you the most over your career, like a change that you didn't maybe think about would happen, changes in machinery or the employment or how you haul things?
Well, probably the biggest thing is the equipment. All your expenses have gotten so high, and our price that we charge hasn't gone up accordingly. And low commodity prices limits you to what you can do, but it seems like there's the farmers really don't understand that we're not making the money that we need to make to continue to do this business, and that's why you see more and more people getting out of it, because we've lost our the value of our combines has gotten the resale of them has gotten slow, that we don't have the equity we used to have. And it's the lack of income versus the expenses.
Yeah.
And now that like commodity prices, the wheat price is low, we don't cut the acres of wheat in the summertime, and we can't make that up in the fall, because that window in the fall with the timing of the crops coming off and the weather, you can't make that loss up.
Let's see. So, what and if other people they think about Shorty, right? Like your friends or maybe the guys you work for, what would they say about you? What's your reputation? Do you have one?
Well, if I had a reputation, it's probably with the hired help that I gripe too much.
Oh, I'm sure not.
I'm too strict. You set your guidelines. You tell them when you hire them. This is what I expect. Do your job, and we're going to get along fine. But that don't seem to work all the time with some of them.
Yeah.
But you hope you have the good ones that'll explain to the other ones. You knew this when you come to work, and you can always have a good employer too that can try to talk to the others and make them realize.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think you teach them a lot. I mean, or you give some of them a chance that maybe others didn't.
Right. I've hired some guys. For instance, one guy that he had lost an eye when he was growing up. His friend had called me and was working, and he called me. He said, "You may not hire me because I've only got one eye." And I said, "I'm not going to hold that against you." I said, "You probably have other things that make up for that, other senses."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'll give you a chance." He'd never worked around equipment like this. He was an Amish boy. He was doing carpenter work. And he came to work. He worked real hard. He did a good job. He's probably one of the best combine drivers I ever had. He took care of things. He was willing to work on things.
Yeah, just because you gave him a chance.
Right.
Yeah. Is there a piece of advice that maybe your dad or someone else that was a role model in your life gave you that helped you in your harvest career?
Well, I guess about the only thing I can say my dad gave me was to work hard and to honor your word.
Yeah.
Because we grew up, my dad had a service station that we had to work at also. And I can remember the farmers coming in and talking about my grandpa, about him honoring his word. If he made a trade with somebody and circumstances changed that he was going to lose money, he still did it because he gave his word. And that meant a lot to me growing up, that I could hear people say those good things about him. And my dad was the same way.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to follow in their footsteps and honor my word.
Yeah.
It's like with the hired help. I tell them, you're going to draw a steady paycheck, whether it rains or not, you're going to get fed. And I honor that. At the same time, do they honor it? No. They want to leave, and it's just not a good situation with some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them are tough. Do you have any harvest stories that you always kind of tell about or talk about that you want to?
Well, there's a lot of them. Some of them probably can't repeat right now.
Probably not.
Here, but there's a lot of good stories that some boys that work for me will call, or we'll get together and we'll talk, and we can talk and have a lot of good laughs. And Perry Hoffman's a good friend. I think y'all interviewed him before me here today. Perry started his harvest down where I was raised, around McGardle.
Right.
And in those wet years that your folks harvested down there, in some of those wet years where we sat 2 or 3 weeks and didn't do nothing, and farmers would get together and have a cookout. We started that at McGardle. We had one in my dad's shop there. We had a fish fry to just get people together and get their mind off the bad weather. And I can remember one night Perry came over, and him and I went to Seymour, and we come back, it was late, probably midnight. Perry said, "Boy, I'm hungry." And I said, "Well, Perry, I can make you a hamburger." "Can you?" I said, "Yeah." So we got to my house, and that's when I lived down in McGardle. And I fired up the grill and got some hamburger meat out and made us a hamburger, and he'll tell that story today. He said that was the best hamburger I ate at 1 o'clock in the morning.
But it tasted pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit on like a good point of the community that you have probably made, even with the harvest like industry or other friends like Perry. Talk about kind of how that has influenced your career through the harvesting.
As far as
just like the other harvesters that you become friends with.
Oh, you value that friendship, even though you're competitors. You value that friendship, and you hope it carries you through life. And when I go to South Dakota, an area like where Perry lives, for example, I always try to cross paths with him. We try to go out and have a meal together or something. And there's a lot of different ones that you know you've worked with.
Yeah.
And a lot of different ones, especially the older harvesters you've shared work with. They've helped you out. You help them out. And you don't keep score who owes who. You're just glad to be able to help each other out and hope that when they need help, they'll call you.
Right. Yeah, you don't find that in a lot of industries.
Right.
I'm sure. Let's see. What's a reward that you've maybe experienced being in the custom harvesting business?
I guess one of the rewards is that there's one boy that worked for me, and he was my foreman for a while. And I use him for reference when I try to hire somebody. And he'll always tell them, or if he talks to their parents, to say, if you want your kids to grow up and during the summer and learn the value of working and to learn honesty, send him on harvest, Shorty, because he's going to make sure he does things right, and he'll come back a different person. It's always nice that later on that a parent will call you up and say, I don't know what you did to my boy this summer, but he come home a different boy. And those times make you feel good.
Yeah. Is that kind of what makes it worth it?
Yeah. And there's some boys that work for me. Every year I'll have one or two call me that have gone on in life to maybe an electrician. There's one that's in the Marines. And they'll call you up and thank you for what they learned, what you taught them about hard work and honesty. And there's always somebody every year that'll call and tell you that. And inside that makes you feel good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you change one person's life. I mean, you've changed a lot.
And that helps offset the guys that thought that you were so bad, that you was awful, I wouldn't work for you again, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure that even those maybe later in life they think, oh, he did teach me.
For instance, the boy that was in the Marines, the recruits coming in, they had a big issue one day with cell phones and work ethics and stuff like that, and giving 100%. And he got mad and just gave him a big speech. And his commanding officer said, your dad taught you well. And he said, no, it wasn't my dad. It was the man I worked for.
Yeah. You kind of become that influence, person for them.
If there's anything out of the harvesting, that's probably the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that. What, I guess, kind of wanted to cover what year you joined the U.S. Custom Harvest Organization, and then kind of what you've gained by being a member.
I joined in 1985, and that's when I was running my dad's operation. And first of all, I met a lot of new people. And I was on the board for 5 years, and then last I was on the board, I was president. And it was worth it. It's a thankless job, I'll tell you that. Because you don't do enough right to offset what people thought you did wrong, you know. And that's with any leadership role. It's going to be that way. But you've made a lot of friends, and the relationship you made with the major companies like John Deere, Case, Gleaner, even though you don't run their equipment, you had a relationship with them.
Yeah.
You didn't have to buy from them to gain that relationship. And
right.
I think through the organization working with them, it's made a lot of difference.
Brought a lot of people together.
Right.
Yeah, that maybe wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any other stories you want to share with your book, or.
Oh, well, this is a book that a boy worked for me did, and I don't know how to hold that up there, but this is he put this book together. There's a lot of interesting, nice pictures in there. And this one was between Mott, North Dakota, and them in South Dakota. His girlfriend went up on the hill,
Took a picture.
and took that picture. And when you look back at these and the boys there in them, you can remember some good times.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you remember the people that worked for you
Right.
and the memories that you made and
Yeah.
the friendships over the years.
You can always tell a lot of funny stories that you can't repeat right now.
You don't want to repeat any of them
No.
for me? You sure? Well, you could tell them to me later, I guess. That's kind of all I have for you, unless there's anything
Okay.
else you want to share, the history or...
No, that's pretty much it. I don't want to forget my wife. She couldn't be here today, and she's been a big part of our business.
Yeah. Yeah. She's been there probably for you in good and bad. And
She really worked hard at it.
uh-huh. Does she mainly cook for the crew?
Yeah, and she runs a tractor and grain cart.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a hard working woman.
Yeah.
They need those harvest women to help.
I just want to give her credit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for being here today and helping to document this. And
Yeah.
thanks for everything you do for the industry and for the organization as well.
Sure.